What's going on, everybody? Sean Daniel from Guitar Control here, and today we're going to talk about arpeggios. And you may have gotten along through life to this point without ever really giving much thought into arpeggios, but that ends right now because arpeggios are an incredibly efficient and easy way to master the guitar fretboard. And we're going to go through a couple examples right now to kind of show you how they're not boring, and the theory behind it isn't really even that difficult, and it's really something that's going to take your playing to the next level. So make sure you click the link below to grab the tab, because a lot of times arpeggios are most easily seen in tab form, so it's good to have to kind of follow along with, right? So basically, what is an arpeggio? An arpeggio is when you play a chord one note at a time. Oftentimes they're played ascending, going up, descending, going down. One of the probably most common examples of an arpeggio, like let's take a C major chord, is just playing this chord one note at a time. Almost kind of like lullaby style. Again, it's a cool sound. I always thought that's what an arpeggio was, and it kind of bored me after a while. Put me to sleep. That's why lullabies are arpeggios, right? But that's actually not, in my opinion, the best way to think of arpeggios on the fretboard. An arpeggio can be something that moves throughout the entire fretboard, and the one we're going to use is actually going to be a G major style arpeggio, okay? So now where these come from, all come from the major scale pretty much. So if you don't know what the G major scale is, this is going to be the first thing on the tab sheet below. Is just right here. 7 notes of the G major scale, and then the 8th one being an octave to start the G again. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now, we can make a G major arpeggio one note at a time out of this. Now, you've probably seen a G major chord like this. So you can arpeggiate, just play up or backwards. But that's just kind of working through an open chord, and that doesn't really capture the beauty and the power, the majesty of the arpeggio, like thinking of them in a scale would. So again, if you haven't seen any of the other music theory videos, which I definitely recommend you check out, to make a G major chord, we just take the 1st, 3rd, and 5th note of the G major scale. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there, just like that. 1, 3, 5. GBD is going to give us a G major arpeggio. If you play the major scale 3 notes a string like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 3, 5. Again, kind of a boring way to play an arpeggio. In fact, if you ever go to like an orchestra, you might hear some of the string members kind of warming up. Even singers warm up like that. 1, 3, 5, 8, 5, 3, 1. Now, to kind of use this as a way to work through the fretboard, what we're going to do is we're going to take the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 5. And we're going to make a really cool kind of fretboard spanning exercise out of this arpeggio. So again, 1, 2, 3. We don't have to stay in a shape to play this. Any way you can get from a G to an A to a B. In fact, all I'm doing is I'm taking a root note, G, hitting the 2nd note in the scale, the 5th fret, which is an A, and then sliding 2 frets higher. So you don't even have to think about the notes. It's good to know the names of the notes. It's really helpful. You don't need to think about it that way. You're just going to go 2 frets higher and 2 frets higher. And then we're going to go down a string, back 2 frets. 3A, or 3E, 5E, 7E, 5A. All right, so that's going to be the entire arpeggio, but we're going to do it in a way where we make this connection over and over again to go throughout the whole thing. It's just one move, like that. Now again, remember when we did it this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8th note, the 5th fret on the D string is also a G. So I have a G here, and I have a G here. Now this move, where I go 2 frets higher, 2 frets higher, and then down a string and back 2 frets, I can repeat here. So same move, 2 spots. G, A, B, D, G, A, B, D. Now if you kind of drill that, you can kind of get pretty fast with it. I'm only picking the 1st note and the last note. 1st, hammer, slide, last. You can pick all of them if you want. Or you can kind of use hammer-ons and slides to get different ones. Now once we get to here, we got to find another G. Now the G on the B string, it'd be nice to go down a string, just like we did here. Down a string. That's actually not a G. The B string throws us off, so we have to go diagonal here. The G on the B string is actually the 8th fret. But once we get back to here, the whole sequence starts again. So just by doing this one little move, we can recreate it here and recreate it here. And then it doesn't sound good unless you end it on the highest G, which is the octave G, which is like the 15th fret, right? So how is that helpful musically? Because even then, this still sounds kind of like an exercise. Even though it's like a cool climbing type pattern, is we can take little pieces of this and kind of add that into maybe songs where we play a little bit of open chords, right? So let's say we're gonna maybe play just something really easy, a G to a D. But we have space in between there to kind of work our way to a D chord. So maybe we can kind of go. All that I did right there is I was still thinking in my head that little move I did to get me to the B, the third, the major third of this scale. And kind of just by adding that little slide into a higher part of the neck and coming back into a D chord, it kind of created a little bit more excitement than just G. I can even kind of get that A in there. I'm just taking pieces of that arpeggio that I've drilled and I know really well and kind of incorporating it into it. Now another thing, maybe if I'm playing like a D bar chord down here, even on an electric guitar, something like that, I can work my way all the way up to this spot, because remember when we did this, where I'm ending is right in the area of this. So maybe if I want to get it to a D bar chord down here, I can kind of take this into here, all because I'm kind of using arpeggios as a roadmap to where I'm going, okay? Now, I also want to do that, and again, this can be used in any single chord. You don't have to do it as far as like this one goes all through from the low E string to the high E string. We can do this on a C chord. Just as like little pieces of it. So again, my root note is here, a C. Any major chord you can do this with. You can go the root, the second, the third. The exact same shape. And then just remember you have to compensate for the B string when you get to the B string. But as far as like especially the first octave of it goes, that's just a G to a C. C, D. You can make it sound arpeggio style like that. You can make it sound more musical by breaking up those intervals. Instead of playing 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, or 1, you can go from like a. All I'm doing is I'm playing around with those notes in that arpeggio. So I think it's actually a better tool than even scales almost, because you're kind of simplifying what you're doing. Sometimes even though a scale can only be 7 notes or a pentatonic scale only be 5 notes, having all those notes, thinking that you have to like hit every single one of them can be something that kind of gets you inside, like trapped in like a box of like, okay, I'm playing the minor scale. Like when you're playing in a scale, you know, it doesn't really sound musical. You're just kind of going through notes and it's like, what am I even doing here? The beauty of arpeggios is that you're limited to a chord, and playing within that chord is a really great way to train your ear as far as like, okay, there's a root and a third, a major third, into a fifth. And kind of like just having that structure of, this is a chord, I know these notes sound good together. People have been playing these notes together, these 3 notes, 4 notes, for hundreds of years. How am I going to get creative within that? Is like a really cool thing to start experimenting with. So, we've got this one fretboard spanning major arpeggio, and I also want to do a minor one to go with it. So let's go to everybody's favorite minor chord, A minor chord. It's just an A, a C, and an E. And again, if we take like the A minor scale, which is going to be on that sheet too, 5E, 7E, 8E, 5A, 7A, 8A, 5D, 7D. we can arpeggiate that by grabbing the first, the third, the fifth, and the eighth. So the only difference between major and minor is that third. If we had a major arpeggio, all it would be 5 to 9 to 5. Minor is 5 to 8 to 5 to 7 to 7. I think I might have said that wrong, but yeah. So minor chords are the exact same thing as major chords, but with a flat third. Flat just means going one lower, right? So here's major third, minor third. That's the only thing that's different between these two, and that actually makes a huge difference in the class of the chord, how it sounds compared to other stuff, etc., etc. So the cool thing about this is we can take, just like we did before, where we have 2 frets, and then just maybe one more, like that. So we've got the 1, 2, flat 3. Same deal. Or something that I like to do with minor chords is actually take the root note and slide a minor third up. So that's going to be the one that we're going to use as an example right here. Root note, slide a minor third. The sound of a minor third is something really prevalent in rock music specifically. Now you can do a minor third on the same string, or you can go down a string back 2 frets. For the purposes of this one right here, we're going to be sliding a minor third higher on the same string, but that's the same interval as here. Really, the sound of a minor third is like prevalent all throughout rock music. Once you do this a lot, you'll start hearing minor thirds everywhere. It's awesome. So we're going to take the root note, slide into a minor third, grab the fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is really just, I'm going from 5E to 8E to 7A. Get that move down first. And then after you have a handle on that, and you can pick it too, but I'm sliding it down a string. And then from there we can do the same thing. We can slide and go back. Again, the fingers that you use isn't really important. If you want to, you can kind of keep the integrity of the scale shape and go index, pinky, ring, index, pinky, ring, pinky, slide, just like that. However you want to get comfortable with it, because I think in a practical, real-world setting, jumping into an arpeggio like that, or some kind of like minor run, has a lot to do with context, like where you are in a song, etc., etc. Like maybe if you're playing like a C major chord here, wherever the song ends up bringing you, and you want to do an A minor run, maybe the best way to do that is thinking about this A here, and then running from there. So in this case, if I'm coming from this spot, I'm thinking with my ring finger, get to that A, slide a minor third, and then whatever fingers I have available will take over. All right? So practice it with a couple different fingering styles. Again, the fingers you use do not matter. Some fingers will will yield quicker results as far as like speed goes, but really just kind of like work all of them in there, because you never know where you're going to be coming from, where you kind of can get into it a little bit faster. So 3 octaves of this. If we start, let's start with my middle finger on the 5th fret of the E string. A, hit that minor third, go to the 5th. Down a string, start the next minor third, or the next minor third, the next A minor arpeggio. Back, there's that B string. We have to compensate for that, so now I'm on the 10th fret of the B string. From here, here's my root note again. Minor third, always 3 frets higher, down a string, and then I can end it on an A, which is 5 frets past the 12th fret, which is 17. So into the G major one. Again, there's a lot of different combinations you can make, but knowing how arpeggios are built, and that's just through the numbers of the major scale or the minor scale, if you want to look at it that way, scale degrees, as they're called. Again, this was just the 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. With the G, we did something a little bit different. We kind of hit the 2 there. 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1. Any combination of notes you can make an arpeggio out of. It doesn't have to be specifically major or minor chords. You can just take maybe the major scale, and maybe you want to do like a 1, 3, 7. Right? So now I'd have my middle finger on 3. It's supposed to be a G major 7, by the way, a 1, 3, 5, 7. I've got my middle finger on 3E, my pointer finger on 2A, and my ring finger on 4D. 1, 3, 7, 1, 3, 7 for the B string, right? There's a lot of different ways you can kind of cut this up to make whatever sound that you're going for. And then once you start experimenting with these intervals, these spacings between the numbers of the major or minor scale, you're going to really develop an ear for what you like best. I remember when I was first getting into this, I was self-taught. I never really knew this stuff. I played for probably like 8 years before I even thought about trying an arpeggio. Once I started getting this down, I realized that the music that I gravitated towards to always, regardless of genre, whether it was like rock, metal, even jazz, was stuff that had that major 7 interval in it. And I always knew what I liked, but I couldn't really put like a name to it. And learning arpeggios is like, wow, I really love this major 7 type sound. And now playing, I can identify what I like about it. And it's just kind of opened up my own musicality personally. So I definitely think that arpeggios are a super useful tool that you can really spend like a limitless amount of time kind of exploring. And I hope you like it. And definitely if you have any questions, hit us up in the comments and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks a lot. So if you learned a little bit about arpeggios, but your need for information in guitar playing has not been satiated, feel free to click any of these surrounding videos right now and kind of get a little bit more into the ever-growing journey of guitar exploration. So thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you check out some of the other videos too.